So, hey Sasha, how you doing today?
I'm okay. How about you?
I'm pretty good. Um, so I guess just want to start out by asking you, I guess, where were you born and raised?
Born and raised Midwest and East Coast. I was born in Detroit. Born and bred. Um, 95.
How was it like growing up in Detroit?
Well, I was mostly a kid, and then we moved to the East Coast, and that was DMV area, and it was pretty boring. I mean, I was kind of a bad kid, so I did have stuff going on here and there, but other than that, it was a pretty calm um childhood. I did see a dead body as a kid, but I think that's like one of the more eventful times of my childhood.
I guess was that during like the crack epidemic? I guess
No,
dead bodies,
it
or
was
that was that more gang related stuff?
it was it was I think it was gang related because like dude didn't look like he was on drugs or anything. It was a regular guy, and I guess it was gang affiliated or something like that. I don't remember many details because I was 12 when it happened. At the time it didn't bother me, but like as I got older it made me realize like damn, that was fucked up. But like that was probably one of the more eventful um situations in my childhood probably.
Okay. Did you do any like sports or whatever growing up?
I did sneak and do after school sports because my dad was like a very traditional. I come from a very traditional family. That my dad's side is from South America, so they're very evangelical, and my mother's people. You have a great majority of her family that are like Muslim or evangelical Baptist, and it caused a lot of strife, because you're not supposed to really go outside of the religion and have relationships and things of that nature. Um, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
You said you have some experience in the industry. What is that experience?
Um, it was one of the darker periods, darker times in my life where I was really struggling with addiction. I met this lady, and she'd really been taking care of me, and she'd introduced me to a particular type of lifestyle that at the time I thought would kind of carry me to my goals. So I wanted to be like this rock star, and I wanted to have like my own garage, my own auto body garage, and I wanted to do all these things. And she's like, well, it's quick money, and you can make pretty good money, and if you're smart and you put it away and you invest it in things like that, you can have all the things you want. But it wasn't like that at all. Um, I did eventually experience trafficking. I was trafficked. Um, and then that introduced me to the world of pornography. Um, and there were times where I was struggling to get out of it because of blackmail and because of the drugs and stuff like that. I was lucky because like I had previous experience before being introduced in like construction and general labor, so that kind of helped me a bit. But there were a lot of people that I had to leave behind that I still feel guilt about. A friend of mine, Vantasia Johnson, who passed away because of the lifestyle, and even times where I was paid in substances for shoots. I was asked to make documents for girls who were underage, and I actually got blacklisted for refusing. Um, I had when I taken the hiatus, I started working as security for girls on set, and that resulted in me breaking up two rapes on set. So it was a lot. It was heavy.
That sounded heavy. That's a lot to dissect. I guess starting first, I guess what were the drugs that you were addicted to?
I'm an uppers kind of girl, so I was like dealing with a lot of meth, a lot of coke. Sometimes you do hot reels where it's like meth and speed and stuff like that. It started really innocently because I'd gotten into it was like a whole complicated thing where I would I would think that it would make me a more efficient worker because I got more done. And I always had little side jobs. I never just did one thing throughout my life. I always had little side jobs. And at the time where I was like really struggling, I was convincing myself that if I got more done, I would be a better worker, a more efficient worker, and I would reach my goals faster. But that just led to me like crashing out. So it was a lot.
So how did you get started on the drugs? Was it a friend or
Um,
family member?
when I was in high school, or well, actually back all the way back to middle school, I was hanging out with like older kids that I had no business hanging around with. These girls that were like, um, kind of just like burnouts, and they would experiment and offer me stuff, and so I found out that I really didn't like downers. I liked to feel hype. I like that like invincibility. I liked feeling alive, and I like powering through, and it made me feel stronger. So I was like, damn, this is why they don't let athletes have this shit. And that just kind of slowly snowballed into um, experimentation, and eventually me finding out what worked for me at the time. And so like I was going out and I was doing like all these jobs this is like around 19. So I was going out and I was doing all these jobs and I was making money, but I was blowing it just as fast because when you work that hard, you definitely want to party. And so I was definitely partying. And one thing just kind of led to another, and it got worse and worse until I decided to address it the first time, which I think I was 22, 22. I was 22 years old.
Um, was it, I guess you said the first time, I'm assuming it was a long road to getting off the drugs.
Yeah, it took me several attempts. Um, Thankfully, I'm now sober and I'm working a regular job and healthy, and I'm doing my meetings and I'm doing my journals and all that stuff like that. But like, yeah, it took a lot of effort and it took a lot of tries to get to where I am now.
So you mentioned being trafficked. I guess how did that start? Can you tell me about that?
So, one of my biggest issues was like day pay, and girl clubs were not doing it for me anymore. I was like noticeably in decline, and so I went to look for a strip club to work at because obviously, you get fast money there too. And I met someone in the strip club, and this was like a well-known person in the area, so I'm not going to name names in this case, not until at least I get a little more clout. But this person had introduced me to making online content and webcamming and all this other stuff like this. And like webcamming I had heard about before, but I'd never actually done it. So like once I dipped my toe in the water, they were like, so this is what you're gonna do now. And they kind of held it over my head that like my other careers are not gonna work. I have to focus on this 24/7, and kind of setting this landscape for me. There's like, listen, if you do everything I tell you, then things are going to work out. And it eventually became like trying to get physical, which wouldn't work because like I like to fight. So and it became like holding me at gunpoint and threatening me with knives and threatening to kill me in my sleep and things of that nature. And I was in a really bad spot, so I couldn't get out. And they would introduce me to their friends.
How long were you in that environment?
On and off for about 6 years.
6 years is a long time. So you said you broke up rapes on porn
On
sets?
set.
For me, that's kind of
Yeah.
confusing sounding like, I mean, it's a porn set. I imagine they're there to shoot porn. I just can't see why somebody would rape somebody. Like, can
Well,
you
the thing
explain that to
about
me,
it,
I guess?
yeah, the thing about it is a lot of these sets don't have like proper protocol. They don't have call people. It's just like some guy in his camera and like a dude he found somewhere, maybe off the internet, off the street, and like they don't set up safe words. They don't have like contracts and stuff that you're supposed to sign, like release forms. It's none of like the formalities that you have. It was like one of them wasn't. I think St. Louis is like one of the worst offenders because both situations. Well, one took place in Chicago and another took place in St. Louis, but St. Louis is like one of the worst offenders. The one in St. Louis was this girl that I'd met, and she'd we'd met in like New Jersey or something like that. We met in New Jersey, and she was like, "Hey, listen, I don't have a good feeling about this. Can you come with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, just give me a little bit off the top." She was like, "Cool, I'm fine with that." And like they were getting increasingly rough, and she was like, "Yo, I need like let's stop, let's take a break, we need to talk, blah blah blah." And the guy wasn't stopping, and the guy just kept recording. And I'm looking, and I'm like, is this part of the shit? And she starts saying, help, 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 help. And so I jump in and I get the guy, and I'm like, what the fuck? Get off her. And the camera guy just, looks exhausted and frustrated and annoyed and closes his camera and walks away from the situation. And I'm like, do you want to leave? Do you want to continue? Blah, blah, blah. And obviously, she didn't want to because she came to St. Louis for that shoot. And if she didn't finish, she wouldn't get the money. But then she told me, she showed me the messages and told me, like, listen, it's not supposed to be all of this rough, crazy stuff. It's just supposed to be a normal scene, a normal softcore scene. You weren't agreeing to anything hardcore. And I guess, like, it just became that. And then in Chicago, it was one where I guess the girl and the guy were in some type of abusive relationship, and she had me waiting outside or whatever, and gave me her key to the room. And I guess they didn't know that. So when I barged in and what was going on, she was bleeding all over the bed. I was like, let's go. I get her some tissues and stuff like that. And I've got my elbow out the whole time, making sure nobody's grabbing me. And we have her put on her shorts, and then I have her put on one of my tops because I carry around like white tees everywhere. And we left. We just straight left, and she has never looked back. Neither have I. That was kind of the end. Well, that wasn't the end, but that was the end of like the porn stuff for me.
These were not like higher end, I guess, porn companies. And these were, I guess, just like you
No,
said, guys off the streets, not business minded, trying to create their own
yeah, little things.
porn.
I do
Yeah.
have a story about like an actual company. A friend of mine that shot for a well-known company, run by this dude who's like notorious in the industry for not for hating women, for actually hating them. And this was in New Jersey. And she calls me up and she's like, "Hey, this is going on. I need you to come get me. I think he's gonna kill me." So I bring my machete and I'm driving up, and she's standing outside and she's crying and she's trying to tell me. I'm like, "Listen, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on?" And I help her into the car. She says, "No, I'm gonna drive. I want to drive." I was like, "Okay, fine." And so as we're in the car and we're driving away, she's like speeding like crazy, and she's telling me all the stuff that happened to her and how she was beaten and how they were like urinating on her and doing all this crazy stuff. And she tries to crash the car, and I got lucky. I was able to stop her, and I was like, listen, listen, we got to get out of the car. So I help her pull the car over. We get out, and I'm like, listen, we need to talk about this. She's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, no, we have to talk about this. She's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. He's going to find me. He's going to kill me. I'm like, who's going to find you? Who's going to kill me? And then she tells me who. And after that, I had to help her bounce around a couple of couches until we were able to move her from her previous address. And after, like, I haven't heard from her since. Nothing on her socials. Tried to call, number disconnected. And till this day, I don't know where she is. And this is like a real company, like an actual established company.
Wow. That was a deep story. Um, yeah, I'm a little lost for words. I guess what was the straw that broke the camel's back, like to really make you say, this is enough, I had enough, I need to leave and do something different.
I think what changed for me was I was at my lowest point. I was meeting women like out of motels. Um, and I had made this friend where me and my homegirl, we were in the room on the third floor, and she was on the second floor directly beneath us. And she also goes, "Hey, look, I don't want to see this guy. He's giving me weird vibes." And I was like, "Fine, whatever." So I'm in the like closet type deal with my brass knuckles. I'm like, "Listen, if anything goes wrong, I'm gonna come out. I got you." And yeah, I don't remember if I had my machete or not, but he comes in, and so she's got like a missing eye. She's like 30s, close to 40, late 30s, close to 40, and they start off and everything sounds fine, and he goes, he wants to put himself in her eye socket, and she goes, "No, I don't want to do that." And so he keeps insisting, like, "Come on, we should do it. It's got me really excited." Blah blah. And she keeps saying, "No, I don't want to do it." She's very firm on that no. And so then I hear a struggle, and she's like, "Stop! No, no, we're not doing this." I get out, and he's trying to force his way into her eye socket, and I'm chasing him out of the room. I'm like, "Come on, girl, get your stuff. You're gonna come with us, so you don't have to worry about that crazy guy going back. And then tomorrow we're switching locations." She like, "Damn, I don't know how I'm gonna pay for a room tomorrow." Blah blah blah. I was like, "It's fine. You can kick it with us. And if you need to see somebody, we'll get out, or I'll do like the previous arrangement where I'm hiding in the closet." And she's like, "Fine, all right, okay, let's go, let's go." And I didn't want her to have to worry about that crazy guy coming back. And that was it for me. That was it for me. It did take me a couple of tries, but I did get sober, and I was able to leave.
When you're saying that he wanted to go into her eye socket, you're saying literally put his penis into her eye socket is what he wanted to do?
Yes. Yes.
What? Was he high on drugs or something?
He had weird interests. One of the weirdest I've ever encountered. I really didn't see men like that outside of like BDSM, or like fetishes, like hardcore fetishes and stuff, because like pegging and all that type of, whatever. But when I after dealing with that, I was like, "Okay, this is my rock bottom. Like this is collectively my rock bottom. Like I can't be around this shit. This is not a normal. Like this is no way to live."
Yeah, it sounded like you seen a lot of violence because you mentioned the machete like a few times and having brass knuckles, but that definitely caught my attention. Like you keeping the machete. I would imagine you've seen a lot of abuse and like some crazy shit to keep a machete around.
Yeah.
Um,
It's one thing that people have this very glamorized perspective of prostitution, whether it's with Johns or Janes, but it's not like what they show you. Like it's not like that at all. These guys aren't coming to see these women for nice romantic encounters. They're coming to imitate the stuff that they see in porn. They're coming to do the stuff that they can't do with the women in their lives, and a lot of times that includes like violence. That includes um, brutalization, that includes degradation, calling them names and spitting on them and hitting them and all these other different things that like just doesn't get talked about.
doing this for 6.5 years, did this like mess up your relationship with men? Do you see men in a certain way now because of everything that you dealt with? Is it hard sitting here talking with me being a man, and we're sitting here having a conversation about some fucked up men that you
Um,
had to deal with?
it wasn't that, it was me going to other countries that kind of changed my attitude about men, because I don't date. I'm a lesbian, so like I was doing, I was seeing the female clients, and then I was doing the BDSM, and you do get weirdos, but not like how the straight or bisexual women might get. And so like when I saw stuff like that, like that a switch flipped that told me like this is not normal. This is not something normal people do. And it is like, you have your everyday family man that goes to see strippers or prostitutes every now and again, or maybe watches porn, but it does change their attitudes towards women. and they have to conceal it. Like they all of these things perpetuate each other. Um, the stripping perpetuates the porn, and the porn perpetuates the prostitution, and they all kind of just like feed into each other, and gives people these negative attitudes about sex, sexuality, and women, to where they're like sexual commodities almost.
Do you ever have any nightmares dealing, going through the stuff that you've been through?
I think the only nightmares I really had were nightmares about using. I've never really been afraid of death because I've just like kind of watched it all the time, watched it happen even before I knew what it was. But like my only real nightmares have been about like relapsing, and just like kind of going back there.
Is there anything on your mind that you feel like you need to say for our listeners?
Definitely want to tell the young girls who get introduced to stuff, even by other women, like, don't do it. It's not worth it. You're not going to make money. You're not going to get rich. It doesn't matter how smart you play it. Um, Fast money leaves quickly also. Like I think a lot of people don't understand that these girls, they're the pimps now. Like the women are the pimps, and they're trying to sell you this false reality because it's so easy to fake, right? Like a lot of these girls are in so much debt trying to put up this lifestyle of luxury, and oh, I'm getting so much money. But these girls are taking out loans, they're taking out credit cards, and they're renting like Airbnb, these luxurious Airbnbs and fake private jets and all these things so that they can lure you because you want that too. But their reality is that a lot of them are living in houses with like a manager who takes their money and like six other girls, and you think that that mansion is theirs. It's not their mansion, it's not their car. um a lot of the stuff they have is rented. A lot of those luxury goods, those Chanel bags or those shoes or those dresses or that jewelry, it's all rented. It's all fake. It's all a smokescreen. And they know that they don't have to work as hard if they bring more girls in, right? Because that's more money that another girl can generate so that she doesn't have to. And it's not worth your mental health. It's not worth your sobriety. It's not worth your reputation or your relationships, because it will fuck with your relationships, and it takes a lot of therapy to heal it if you ever do. So if anyone ever approaches you with offers like that, just stay away. It's never worth it.
I do, I guess, have a final question. Just hearing everything that you had to say, what would be the one thing that you would say that would make men be better intimate partners with their mates?
Don't
Something,
watch
I'm sorry,
don't
come
watch
again?
porn. Don't watch porn. Don't go to strip clubs. Don't hire prostitutes. Like really try to get that emotional connection with your female partner first. Um, and like obviously I know that like straight sex is kind of like penis and vagina, but there's foreplay, there's all sorts of stuff you can do with each other. And I promise your attitude towards sex will improve. And I think trying to practice selflessness and giving to your partner would make a sexual experience much better than, you know, if you're going off of like someone else's imagination, or having to satiate your desires with like depictions of violence and degradation and things of that nature.
Thank you again, Sasha, for taking the time out of your day to share your stories. Really do appreciate it. I hope you have a great day, and I'll stay in touch. And you take care.
You too, and thank you for inviting me on.